The sales robots have taken over, and they're decimating deals left and right, destroying them right in their tracks. On the AI for Sales podcast, our mission is to empower everyday sellers to embrace AI superpowers to build new bridges and crush quota. Dr. Joel Laban said it best in the AI for Sales book. In sales, time kills deals. In AI for Sales, AI kills time. Join our hosts as we learn from the C-suite of the world's fastest growing companies about how you can leverage AI today to transform your sales revenue engine while being the best version of you.
Welcome, everyone, to the AI for Sales podcast. And after more than 2 years of running this show with 150 guests, including one of the early founders of IBM Watson and so many more, today I'm super excited to be talking to Christopher Wright. Christopher is the pro-human founder of the Artificial Intelligence Trust Council. You're probably going to go, wait, if that's pro-human, then what does that mean? There's a group of people that are not pro-human. We're going to dig into that and we're going to have a lot of fun, but this is an important, compelling conversation. Artificial Intelligence Trust Council. We'll dig more into it. Christopher, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chad. Yeah, great to be on with you. It's one of the most timely issues facing humanity right now, this whole AI situation.
Well, and with the, I guess you could say, ousting of the CEO of OpenAPI, the timeliness of everything that's going on, the decisions being made around AI are, it's just so cutting edge. I mean, I think you told me that, I've heard before that people have said, hey, this is bigger than the internet. And I believe it was you that said, no, this is bigger than electricity. Is that
pretty much? I mean, it's I was at an alien UFO event at the Luxor Hotel this last weekend, and they had a group that went up to Area 51 and stuff, and the concept was like, oh, they're going to search for alien life, and actually we basically have alien life occurring on Earth right now because you have a super intelligence that's coming with artificial intelligence. I mean, you have AGI, artificial general intelligence, which is the ability for the AI to act basically the same as a human being. A very capable human being, and there's some people that argue that that's currently available. And so what we have is this, brilliant technology that is outsmarting us, and that's really it's a transformation in humanity where it's not just the rollout of a new iPhone or some sort of new cool technology. This is like, as human beings on Earth today. We're being outmatched currently, and so the idea is that that needs to resonate amongst people so that they can start to put AI in perspective. Like, hey, look, like you need to be pro-human. You need to be in support of humanity, and really cautious of the long-term impacts and things like that can come from this unbelievable technology.
Wow. Yeah. It's a great, as optimistic as I am about AI, the one conversation that I've always had on almost every single call that I have is around the ethics of AI and who gets to play, quote unquote, God in the administration and the decision making around it. And it's a very, very big deal. So, hey, that's a preview of what we're going to talk about. I like to go rewind the tape a little bit, Chris, because you've had an interesting background. And usually I ask, the first question is, what were you obsessed with when you were younger, to help connect the dots for our listeners?
Yeah. No, I grew up out in the country. And I grew up, my dad was in the, Air Force, retired out of the Air Force after a long career. And my brother and I both were like super into military stuff. So yeah, we were obsessed with like, camouflage guns, like kind of running around outside in the woods and just being like normal kids, as kids were a long time ago, before they had cell phones and all the video games and stuff like that. And, so that and aviation. And so, I was always interested in, flying helicopters and so I went into the military after high school. And then started. I was enlisted for a period of time as a combat engineer, but then ended up getting into attack aviation. So I was an Apache helicopter pilot. And so I did that for quite a while. And so definitely obsessed with flying and shooting.
Wow. Well, and I think that's what you said was one of the tipping points for you of the reason why you started this AITC Trust Council is around when AI was able to make a decision on human life, right? On an attack decision. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so that's basically the deal. Is that having that attack aviation background and being on combat, being in Afghanistan and then seeing what that looks like as far as the decision about shooting or not shooting, and then learning about these AI systems. And what you have is these drone systems that are completely autonomous, meaning that artificial intelligence will run an entire network of AI drones. And these things can swarm and collect intelligence and maneuver and conduct, attack missions faster, smarter, much more capable than a human can. And so that's what's happening right now. A lot of people don't know this, but in 2021, there was a drone. It's called the Cargo 2 drone. It's made out of Turkey, but it was used to kill some folks autonomously in Libya. So the rebel forces there bought it and are basically employing this technology. And so the technology is unbelievable because you can link it to facial recognition. You can link it to just any type of image. So you could have a uniform, insignia, vehicles, or even geography. Basically, you can set up parameters, and what happens is that these AI-controlled drones are actually making the kill decision. So it's outside of the hands of a human, and so that's one of the big things I saw. I'm like, if this is happening, it's really just a scale issue. So the more the scale ramps up, the more we're going to start seeing this, and before you know it, the outdoors will become inhospitable, depending on where you're at. So. And I think that as human beings alive today, it's something that we can look at and say, hey, look, do we really want, this situation where we have algorithms taking human lives? And if somebody's, mad enough to want to kill somebody else, that, they should probably be, capable of doing it on their own as a human. Versus outsourced.
I mean, someone that I work for, Chris Beal, the CEO of Connect and Sell, has been in technology for decades, and he always said human in the loop. And he's been a huge proponent on any software technology that he builds, because we as humans have the intellect to make decisions that can't get programmed into an algorithm. Like you said, favoring human life is one of those, right?
Yeah.
And an algorithm could be programmed to not favor human life.
And that was something in Afghanistan. We'd see it all the time. I mean, you'd fly out and then there'd be what they call a troops in contact or a TIC, mission. You'd roll out and, you'd see some guys kind of hiding in bushes, not really sure what they're doing in there. And, kind of circle around and try to get an eye on what they're up to. And you get a feel for, hey, are they just digging around? Are they farmers? Are they, kids playing around? There's a human feeling that you get off of it. Mm-hmm. And there was that decision to shoot or not shoot, depending on, the rules of engagement and that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it really boiled down to that gut instinct on what you're perceiving as a human being, because you understand what it's like to be on the ground doing whatever they're doing. And you kind of just get a feeling for somebody's up to no good or whatever. Cops have that kind of intuition. And right. So you can kind of see that's
from a soul level, though.
A soul level, yeah.
Not an algorithm. Yeah.
Yeah. And so with this algorithm, it's just pure efficiency. It's efficiency and it's, So, and it's a black box. And that's the thing that, you can research and understand how AI will produce a solution, but there's so many parameters that occur within AI that it's really difficult to understand how it came upon the decision that it made.
So I watched a show on, I think it was Air Force, flying jet missions. And, this person was in the jet for 35 years or something like that, just a master at flying. And they put him up against the AI, and the AI won 10 times out of 10 or 7 out of 7. It was 100% kill rate of the pilot. And so half of me says, well, shoot, wouldn't I want the AI in battle because it's going to win 10 times out of 10? And
yeah,
right. And then, so it's such a complex decision. Right. Why wouldn't you want if I'm the country, I'm the United States of America, and I can get a 10 out of 10 or I can get a 7 out of 10. Well, why wouldn't I choose the 10?
Yeah.
How do you reconcile that?
And you can see that that's what's happening. I mean, you can see because there's a cost savings. You don't have to, there's no human involved in it. So you don't have to worry about the life support systems that go into helping a soldier on the battlefield or a pilot in the air. It simplifies things. And so there is that efficiency. And so, one of the technologies that's out there, it's basically like an airdroppable box that is it's basically a 3D printer, and inside the box is this 3D printer with a bunch of spool 3D printer material, batteries, motors, sensors and little components. But basically, the idea is that 3D printer can sit silently in a location, linked with other AI systems, other AI boxes that are dropped, and then at any given time, you can send out a scout drone. It can recognize a threat, and then it can 3D print thousands of these little drones to go execute targets. And so they can come in from all angles. They're very creative as far as coming up with attack planning and that kind of thing. So it's brilliant. And so you have this extreme level of intelligence on the battlefield, the ability to gather battlefield intelligence very quickly. Disseminate that intelligence across all systems instantly. And so, that's one of the fundamental issues with warfighting. It's like, well, getting the most up-to-date picture of the battlefield in the hands of the warfighter. And with AI, it's instantaneous. And so it's like this hive mind that can work to help attack targets. And so, you can set these things up in a whole, geographical area. And you end up with a situation where you can just dominate a territory with these AI systems. And so you look at the third world. The third world's very, they're getting excited about this stuff because it's cheap and it's easy and it's very effective. And so a lot of the third world countries are using these technologies and building them out. So you'll hear this term. It's called fire, forget, and find. So FFF, but that's really the future. So what that means is it's, you fire the munition, you forget about it, but the munition itself will then find the target on its own. And so it's just an outsourcing of a lot of the decision making of warfighting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So clearly in physical war that we're talking about, there's some major downside repercussions of making these kinds of quote unquote progress. When you move now this level of power of AI into the hands of business leaders, I have to believe that similar, just like some of the smartest, The Art of War, right? That's a book that's ancient. And a lot of times I think things start in the military and then they move into commercial is usually how things happen, right?
Yeah.
So what you've just described on the battlefield can now be leveraged by businesses, and who doesn't want to dominate their field of play in their business world? So we're not talking about physical attack vectors and taking out a person, but we're talking about taking out companies and the level of sophistication. So is that kind of where the AI Trust Council, you're not just looking at military types of decisions, but you're talking about business deployments of AI as well, right?
No, totally. Yeah. And obviously in business, profit is, what everybody's going after. And if there's a profit motive and, coupled with this really advanced technology, you end up with it's just natural for things to progress into this new direction, and the rapid adoption of these AI systems, for almost every problem. And that's what I've been seeing. Now been out in Vegas, and that was in Silicon Valley. Been kind of traveling around, has been in South Florida and talking to a lot of different people, and it's pretty much universal. Everybody's like, hey, how can I use these tools to, increase efficiency and ultimately increase profit? And so that's what you see when you see the rapid adoption of this stuff. And, but to what end? And so I think the ethics piece is really what's missing in the conversation.
And the guardrails, right? I mean, it's just guardrails that we're saying. It's not put a pause on the technology forever. We need to have more regulation on it. I mean, otherwise, this isn't just a decision this is a decision that could end everything. Like,
yeah, it's 100%. It could, that's what that open letter was all about. It's like, look, there's a recognition that there is this horse race unfolding. So the horse race really is this whole, rushing to, adopt faster than your competitor, and then, from a country perspective, we're developing fast AI systems faster than, other countries. And so you can call it, the AI horse race, but it's like, well, who's looking out for the human race in this situation? And that's really what the open letter was about, was, putting a pause on AI systems, capping the level of sophistication of the compute power, establishing licensing for AI systems so that you can take it away, establishing government agencies to have oversight over these AI systems. Right now, if you look at our government, these guys are like in their 80s. They don't know what's going on in the belly of the beast. Yeah. Yeah. It's nuts. I mean, and we're relying on, these watchdogs to look after us. And, it's like, where is the, legal liability for harm that is caused by these AI systems? What about AI leaks? And that's one of the inevitables of AI that's coming, is that there will be some sort of, major mistake or major problem that comes from AI. And what we don't know today is basically how severe those problems are going to be. And so having some basic parameters, like you said, guardrails, even safety code written into the AI, some ability to track AI systems, and it's really just not established. And so it's so yeah.
I mean, we put in Sarbanes-Oxley, a long time ago, and I think people thought at first, that's heavy, it's government regulation, and I think some of that was unwound over the years, or right-sized, I would say. But I remember at first when people rolled it out, it was like, wait, you're stopping progress. But in this case, hey, if we don't put regulations in place, the downside is, complete annihilation. I mean, seriously, that's a bad thing that can happen.
Yeah, we're definitely in the realm of science fiction, and so I've worked with different engineers and developers and things like that, and there is a split, and so that split is highlighted. There was a conversation with Elon Musk and Larry Page. Larry Page is the was CEO of Alphabet, Google's parent organization. And in that conversation, Larry Page talks about being speciest, and how, he was accusing Elon Musk of being speciest. And so Elon Musk is like, well, what do you mean? We're all humans here. What's the deal with that? And that conversation reveals a huge amount about what is actually happening in Silicon Valley, in the tech industry, is that the leadership in tech they're not interested in safety. They're interested in advancing AI as quickly as possible. And for what reason, I'm not sure. But they're looking to adopt it as fast as possible before the population really wakes up and understands the risk. And, you could say there's a profit motive, there's a control motive, there's a bunch of different motives that could be behind that. But there's a tendency towards, rapid adoption, low regulation, and really this AI horse race. continuing. And so there is a small amount of people in that community that are saying like, hey, what about, the human impact on this? And so you can look at Sam Altman, getting taken out of his position at OpenAI. And that was one of the criticisms, is that he was not, following or putting humans at the forefront of the safety conversation with AI. It's all about excitement and trying to develop as fast as you possibly can before the competitor. But if humans are going to get wiped out, it's like, well, what good is this? And so I talked to different people about, if I was developing, like, let's say a chainsaw company, and 20% of the chainsaws had a 20% chance of killing the operator, I'd be like, okay, well, we're just not going to make the chainsaw until we can get this, just right, so it's safe. And that's the deal with AI. I mean, you have senior engineers that are saying, yeah, it has a 20% chance, sometimes more, sometimes less, but generally there is a chance that humanity as we know it doesn't exist, because of how significant the technology is. And I can get into how that occurs, but and it's just a little bit of kind of analyzing the situation and with this technology and a super intelligence, what you're dealing with is a dynamic where you have humans being, the smartest thing on earth, and like insects being like, kind of small and dumb. And like, if you see an ant in your room, you'll just step on it and kill it. Well, that's a difference between like, really high intellect and a really low intellect. You're like, hey, I don't want this ant in here. I'll just kill it because it's not serving my interests. That dynamic is exactly the dynamic of humans and AI. But in the future, AI will be us, and we will be the ant, meaning that our intellect is at IQ of 120, let's say, or whatever. That IQ level is not anywhere close to what the AI systems will be. So we're looking at IQ levels of 1,500 IQ. That was just talked about a couple days ago. In the future, they're talking about IQ of 1 billion. And if you have IQ of 1 billion, it's really the difference between an ant and a human as far as the level of intelligence.
That's so well put. Just unfathomable. Now, you had a conversation with a few people recently, Tucker Carlson and JFK Jr. What happened? How'd that conversation go?
It was good. So I talked to Robert Kennedy Jr., saw him at a couple of events out here in Vegas, and had a chance to talk to him and his son, they're great. That the Kennedy family is, it's an honor to meet them and get to talk to them. But one of the big points that we talked about was, exactly, this conversation. It's like, well, where is AI going and what's happening? And so that issue of, really just not being in alignment with humans and having almost an anti-human tendency, that is a real thing that exists. And so what that is being called is a mind virus. And so you could call it a woke mind virus. You could call it a lot of different things, but our, the population has been subjected to mass industrial level psychological operations. And you can see that from a lot of different perspectives, but, you could do a poll on how much people trust the news, how much people trust the government, how much people trust what they see online. And, people know it's like, you're
very, very low, no matter which side of the aisle you sit on right now. Right. Yeah.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, and we're just getting misled, left and right. And so truth and trust is the thing that is missing. And so that is like an endangered species. Trust is going away currently because of these technologies. You're able to, create an entirely fake world. You could invent any sort of persona that you would want. You could, fake almost any sort of background.
You could be whoever you want to be in the virtual world, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 And so the concept is like, well, how do you establish trust? And so that's ultimately what led to the AI Trust Council. But when talking to Elon or talking to Tucker and RFK, yesterday, I got to speak to what I talked about was you can identify people and ask leaders, and especially in tech, are you 100% pro-human, yes or no? And then what you'll find out is a lot of people are, in terms of AI versus humans, people favor AI. I don't know why, but even to the point of human extinction. So you'll say, hey, here's another question. If AI was going to, wipe out humanity tomorrow, would you be okay, or would you be willing to turn AI? Like if you had the switch, would you be willing to turn AI off to save humanity if you knew that it was going to get destroyed tomorrow? Yes or no? And so I asked Carrie Lake that question the other day, and she got it. But there are people who answer that question in a I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like an extinctionist kind of mentality, or they're not pro-human, meaning that they say like, hey, I'm gonna keep the switch on because I don't want to stop AI. I don't want to slow it down. And I'm like, and so the follow up is like, well, you're gonna avoid slowing it down, even though it's gonna wipe out humanity. And what will come out of their mouth usually is, hey, humanity has been bad to the earth, and we don't really need all these people anyway, and it's okay if people aren't here, humans die off. And then that sounds like, and you wouldn't even think that would be a real conversation, but what that gets into is that speciation conversation, that Elon Musk, Larry Page conversation, where you have this group that is very dedicated towards AI, and they want it to continue and develop without restriction to the point of human extinction. And I have questioned engineers about this and different people in the AI space. And a lot of these guys are very into science fiction and that kind of thing. And it's almost like they think they're playing a video game. And by having these AI systems almost take the place of human consciousness. And so they look at the merging of our consciousness digitally with the AI. And then what they're looking at is this blending of consciousness where, our human bodies aren't really necessary anymore. And I've heard this multiple times, but they want to like merge with the stars, whatever that means. And so it's almost like we have a geek problem that's happening because they're kind of lost in the science fiction world where they're really kind of getting super excited about the potential of this stuff, and to the point where they're willing to sacrifice humanity. And I'm thinking like, well, if that's the case, if they can't answer these questions in a pro-human way, well, where does that leave us? And to me, it says, look, like if you're in charge of humans, you need to be pro-human. Bottom line. And so, if you're developing AI systems, you're, political leader, you're in charge of things that have to do with human safety. Well, you should be a pro-human person. You should have humanity's back. You should have humanity's best interests in mind. And that's what you see. And
so it sounds like going into an election cycle, the AI Trust Council should come up with the pledge that all future presidents need to sign around AI, right? That I'll take the AI Trust Council pledge. And there's probably a list of 10 things that say, I'm pro-human, number one. Number two, right? Have you built a pledge yet? Do you have that documented?
No, we probably should. We should probably do that. Because it's a qualifier. And I talked to the Republican chair of the state of Nevada at an event a couple days ago, and he, I was like, hey, I'd be happy to come and talk to your group about AI and blah blah blah. And he was like, oh, we're not into technology, we're more into politics, and so if you want to come talk about politics, that's fine. I'm like, dude, AI is like the biggest thing. It's like the most transformational thing that is going to affect politics. It's like the number one political item of our lifetimes.
And even I remember the persuadables. We're talking big data back in 2016 when they went after the middle market of people who were persuadable, and then they showed ads that would influence people. And the technology has only progressed since 2016. So I can only imagine, like you said, the mind virus is a real thing. And
yeah, I mean, and we've seen it with family members, it kind of coincides with some of the COVID, stuff, some of the vaccine stuff, where it's like, it's kind of like there's just no getting through. And honestly, there have been, there still are hardcore, industrial level psychological operations being played out, in the news, on media and stuff like that. And so, one thing I've noticed is that some of the people that are kind of more in that camp spend a lot more time on their phones and watching social media and also regular TV. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that has something to do with it. And so, getting some people who are experts in psychological operations to dig in on this. But that's Elon Musk put this out on the Joe Rogan podcast last week. Was that we have a mind virus issue, and it's weird. It's strange, but it's something that people should know about because it's affecting our safety. We can't have people who are in charge of significant things that affect human safety. We can't have them operating in a leadership position if they're not in support of humanity, if they're not willing to protect humanity. And so protection of humans should be number one. And so that's one of the issues with AI. And you can look at the Bill Gates Foundation. He's an advocate for decreasing the world population. That goes kind of hand in hand with the mind virus. And one of those that concept is basically that AI. This is kind of a secret that really people aren't talking about, but AI provides life extension. And so there's a protein called the A2M protein that's out there right now. There are a bunch of other developments in the space of anti-aging are happening. And then AI, you can apply AI science, to, cell structure and protein and molecular structures to figure out how to
live to 150, 200 years old, 250 years old, probably at some point.
Yeah. So, and the whole concept is that this gets into the World Economics Forum vision of the future, so it's a stratified, healthcare system where, you'd have let's say a gold plan, silver, bronze, and then no plan. And then what they're, want to do is they want to tie it to your social credit score. And so you have a central bank digital currency social credit score with a CBDC or a AI control grid over the city, wherever you're at. You have a basic digital track and trace of everything you do. And to the point, you can even get into 7G technology where you can have, mental interface, like wireless, brain to device interface.
Sure. And that is not pro-human.
It's like we're getting to the realm of just really weird, and the solution is hey, well, we've got 8 billion people. If we have this life extension technology available, then how then this is the World Economic Forum Davos crew. This kind of stuff they talk about, but what they're looking at is just, hey, well, we can't have 8 billion people reproducing and then living forever. And so they're looking at it well, we just need to kill people off. And that's a strategy that they have.
And I think the analogy that you used was good, was now that we've unveiled the man behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz, what are we going to do about it? So let's tee that question up, right? Business people, humans who are pro-human and not pro-AI, and you can be pro-AI and pro-human at the same time. I think it's not one or the other. It's just the answer to the question is, are you pro-human? Yes or no? Is really the question.
Yeah. And that's something you can ask people. Are you 100% pro-human? Yes or no?
So how can businesses get on board with the AI Trust Council? And, what does that look like? Or everyday people or politicians or anybody?
Yeah. So the whole idea behind the platform is that like we said, trust is eroding. It's going away. And it's kind of this commodity that is really, really valuable. And so the idea is to have a platform where individuals can show that who they are, and then be judged by their audience. And so the more trustworthy and honest that you are, being truthful, those type of things, your audience gets a vote on how you're perceived. And so the higher you rank within your audience, the higher your metadata will ultimately that you can charge for. So one of the ideas behind the Trust Council is that you can use it to kind of be like a farmer for your metadata. It's a Web3 platform, so that the individual user owns their metadata. It's not like the current business model where Facebook hides pretty much everything they're doing, and then just is like a vacuum cleaner of all your information. And then what they do with that information is they, sell it to all these third-party advertisers and companies and things like that. So in the case for the AI Trust Council, the individual user should own their data, and then be encouraged to shape that data in a positive pro-human direction, so that there's so really it's like a carrot for showing what is it to be the term
right.
used.
And you've made the decision to put it out there and own your own information, where it's the opposite of what the Davos is working on, a World Economic Forum.
Basically. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we use the golden rule. So it's treat other people the way you want to be treated. And so if you're perceived as treating other people the way that you would like to be treated, then you rise up. And so the higher you rise up in the rankings, the more, advertising dollars you can get for your metadata. And, and the second part of it is we have filtering software where we filter real from fake, or AI generated from human generated. And the way that looks is, you can filter text, photos, or videos, and it'll give you a score to determine, how much AI was used in the creation of that media. And so that's critical. As these AI systems get smarter and smarter, it's getting really, really difficult to tell what is real and fake, especially with like the, a lot of the face swapping stuff. And I mean, we've all seen the videos of, political leaders, whatever, kind of doing stuff and saying stuff. It's hilarious. But the thing is, from a, propaganda perspective, or from a, just a manipulation perspective, I mean, you can have something that's completely fake. But if it's, it's like our operating system, our brain is not capable of really kind of distinguishing that. Like if you see, Joe Biden doing something ridiculous, like over and over and over, and it might be fake. If you see it from a bunch of different angles, that's one of the principles of early propaganda, was that you use 8 different sources of information to feed into one person. And basically it's perceived as being all separate. And it doesn't matter if it's a lie or not, the person still believes it because they picked it up from all these different sources. And so it works basically the same way with AI. Yeah. And so, I think in Russia, they had this thing where they showed for $400, you can, have this entire disinformation campaign, so it's super cheap, and you can completely sway the opinions of the population. And so the AI Trust Council, the concept is like, well, if you're highly trusted, and it's a crowdsourced opinion on your audience, you can ultimately get a stratification of who is trusted and who's not.
Yeah, I'd love to see that just watching a news show, or finally, I noticed on Google the other day when I was watching the quote unquote news, it says news and opinion. And I was like, I posted that on my Facebook, and I was like, finally, they're calling it what it is, news and opinion.
Right.
So much is just opinion. And, when somebody said, hey, the media is one of the biggest enemies of the state. And yeah, because it's being used in such a way that it's weaponized. So I think this is a really interesting solution. Wow. Fascinating conversation. Chris, if people want to get a hold of you or participate in AITC, how would they reach you?
So you can go on my LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. It's the AITC, all one word. Also YouTube. If you go to theaitc.com, you can get information. But if you do all one word on YouTube, the AITC, we've got some videos there, and it kind of explains how the system works, and also some interviews, some podcasts, and things like that. That talk about some of the other folks we have in the Trust Council, and really the big picture of it is taking the most trusted people in society currently, and then giving them a platform to demonstrate that trust. And so, and that's the big picture behind the AITC. It's firefighters, EMTs, commercial pilots, military veterans, air traffic controllers, also humanitarians.
Probably pastors would be a good fit.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. People who they would probably fall into the humanitarian group.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty broad group. And but the whole idea is that you want to get people who are highly trusted and pro-human, people who care about other human beings and want to see the best for people, and avoid this safety issue that we have currently with AI.
Just to share before we close out, what's the timing look like? Is this something like if we don't act in a year, things can go really awry really fast, or do you have any perspective on the time horizon?
Yeah, it's pretty much an emergency. Like we have to move like now, and that's you can Mo Gadot, he's a chief business officer for Google Moonshot Division, and he just listen to some of the stuff he's putting out. Elon Musk, he's another good voice, but pretty much they're like, yeah, it's beyond emergency. They'd say don't have children because it's so insane.
Yeah,
I mean, and I'm like, okay, here's a technology that's coming out, but then you have the people that are making it saying don't have kids because this technology is so nuts. I'm like, it's time for a serious conversation about this. And it's time for us to kind of like come together as humans and be like, look, like we want fun. We want good. First of all, like the Wizard of Oz, it's the end of the movie. You see the dude pulling the strings behind the curtain, and it's like, no, like we're not afraid of you, bro. Like we see what you're doing.
And that's what we're in right now. We're in the movie, and we're towards the end, and we're seeing the man behind the curtain.
Yeah. And I'm like, we have a pathway towards an amazing future, especially with AI here now. So it's like we can use the tools that we have and have an amazing future of abundance and happiness and good.
And solve a lot of really big problems.
Totally.
In the
100%,
world.
Yeah.
Hunger, cancer, like so many amazing things.
Yeah.
If it's done right. Well, I strongly encourage you, Chris, to get with the presidential campaigns and make that somebody in the crowd should be there and say, have you signed the AITC pledge? Yes or no? So we've got to force the hand on that, I think.
Yeah. So something people can do is, if you're in an audience and there's somebody up on a stage, say, are you 100% pro-human? Yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
Or would you turn AI off if it's going to destroy humanity tomorrow? Would you personally turn it off? And if they can't answer and they're like him and haw, then it's like, well, like we,
Yeah.
It's common sense.
That out. Amazing. Yeah. Well, Chris, really a pleasure to have you on today. Thanks so much for sharing deep understanding. I think a lot of people have heard some of this, but not in the way we've talked about it. So thanks for sharing everything today.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, everyone.
Yeah, awesome to be on with you.
AI for Sales podcast. We'll catch you next time.
Hey, you made it this far in your AI for Sales journey. Want to augment your sales growth? First, leave us a review and then visit www.scalex.ai to claim your free strategy session today.